Friday is pretty much the chat. If you guys have any questions, ask him up there, and we will do our best to answer whatever you guys ask. Before we get to the questions, though, did have a question for you guys because we saw it when they did the Giants Life thing, and then Joe Schoen was on Up and Adams with Kay Adams, and again, Joe Schoen's kind of deflected with Jaxson Dart. Like to me, it doesn't seem like he's like, "Yep, that's our guy. We believe in him. We love him. He's going to do great things." It seems like he's just, to me, hey, if this don't work, it's not my fault. I don't want the guy. This is Brian Daboll's guy. Anthony, am I way off with that?
Yeah, I mean, I listened to the full clip a couple of times. I don't think that was necessarily what I took away. I think what I found more interesting than anything is that he actually gave the specific timeline of when they dialed in on Jaxson Dart. He mentioned that the Monday before the NFL draft, he called everybody in and they had a meeting with the front office, the coaching staff, and the scouting staff, everybody in the same location, and they all discussed exactly how they felt about each quarterback prospect and ultimately landed all together on one quarterback, which was Jaxson Dart. And then they made the moves to try and go up and get him in the draft and obviously succeeded. So that was the way that I read what he was saying or heard what he was saying. And ultimately, I feel like Brian Daboll's conviction definitely led the charge towards Jaxson Dart, but he was also wise to name both Shea Tierney and Mike Kafka in his explanation as to why they took Dart, because they felt that he had similar traits to what they saw in Mahomes and Allen, kind of is what he was alluding to. So he basically said Kafka and Tierney both being guys who helped develop Mahomes in his rookie season, and then obviously Daboll with Allen. So basically trying to get the point across. We've got some guys in the Giants organization who know what a good quarterback looks like. If they know what Jaxson Dart can be, then we're going to go ahead and trust that opinion. So I like that. I think that, listen, at the end of the day, every decision, the final decision lies on the shoulders of the general manager. But I think any good leader knows how to delegate and knows how to listen to the opinions of those he trusts. And I think it's actually rather impressive that Shane is able to do that. I think that's really important that he's able to take all of those opinions from those shared sources within the building and then ultimately come together and make a decision that makes everybody in the organization happy. So I actually liked his quotes today, and I thought that they were kind of, I wouldn't say inspiring, but reassuring for the Giants selection of Jaxson Dart.
Chris, what is your thoughts about the way Joe Schoen answered the questions about Jaxson Dart?
Yeah, like Anthony said, I didn't even remember that because we were talking about the quote real quick before we went live. But as he said that, that's what stood out to me too from the response, the Monday thing. I was like, wow, they really went up until 3-4 days before the draft without 100% having conviction that he was their guy. But that really shouldn't be a surprise because they didn't take him at 3 overall. They kind of said if he falls to the right spot, we'll be willing to trade up and get him. And at the end of the day, whether or not he wants to say he loves Jaxson Dart or not, Jaxson Dart is Joe Schoen's guy. Period. End of story. Now, he did the right thing. The reason that Daboll's here to begin with is because of his work with quarterbacks, and I'm sure that Daboll had a lot to do with the decision. But Joe Schoen had all the power in the world at the end of the year if he wanted to replace Brian Daboll. He stuck with Brian Daboll, probably due in large part to the fact that he thought that he could mold a young quarterback. So his decision was to stick with Brian Daboll, mainly probably due to that. And then Brian Daboll said, that's my guy. So at the end of the day, if Daboll's Schoen's guy, well, then guess what? Jaxson Dart is Joe Schoen's quarterback. And they're going to live and die with that selection, and we'll see how it pans out. That's my outlook on it.
Real quick, I want to give a shout out to our production team because behind the scenes, they got her over a layup here. So those guys do a great job. Big shout out to Borna, Justin, Tori. Appreciate you guys. Just wanted to say that. Yeah, listen, man. Joe Schoen, if Joe Schoen didn't want him, I don't think they would have him. I think that Joe Schoen probably wants to take a back seat on this one because it is Brian Daboll's guy. Why he try to steal his thunder? You know what I mean? We all know that, listen, Joe Schoen is the guy that's supposed to pick these guys. They do it as a combined unit. They obviously do a lot of, traveling and scouting and everything else. It's an all-year thing. It's not like these guys stop at any particular time. This is what their job is. But Joe Schoen's job is to get these guys signed, to get them drafted, do all that stuff. Brian Daboll's job and the coaching staff's job is to develop these guys and make them into the players that they think they can be. The fact that Brian Daboll really likes Jaxson Dart, I think that speaks volumes. And I think that Jaxson Dart, is going to – I don't want to say he's going to be great because I don't know. I hope so. But I've said this before. I think he's just in such a better situation than Daniel Jones was. I mean, Daniel Jones, didn't have success here, but it wasn't all his fault. I mean, we know that the Giants did very, very little to actually ever help him out. Having 3 head coaches in 4 years isn't helping, or 5 years, it ever was. And it's not helping anybody. Having multiple offensive coordinators isn't helping anybody. Never having a true number 1 wide receiver till his last year with the Giants is not helping anybody. So they didn't do a lot to help him. And he got thrown into the fire, right? Eli played 2 games. You're following the best quarterback in the history of this franchise. Yeah, go ahead, kid. Take over Eli and win some games with a team that's completely falling apart around the aging veteran. You go and carry this team. Jaxson Dart don't have to do any of that. He's not following Eli Manning. He wasn't picked in the top 6. And he's going to be able to sit for a year behind 2 really good veteran quarterbacks that have a lot of wisdom that they could give this kid. Brian Dable hand-selected this guy, so he's going to go in with a lot of, Brian Dable is going to put a lot into this kid, obviously, because his job is on the line. He already has Malik Neighbors. And Joe Schoen's tried to take some swings at the offensive line through free agency, the last couple seasons. So Jaxson Dart has a really good chance to succeed. I am again, I don't ever want to be too excited because the Giants inevitably, much like the Knicks, they just know how to let you down, it seems.
Not tonight.
So I hope not, man. No game 7, please. Please, no game 7. I can't take a game 7. But I do think that, like I said, I'm very optimistic. The more I look at Jaxson Dart's body of work, the more I look at the highlights. I'm not going to say look at film because I don't study film. I just look at highlights. And, I listen to his interviews and I like the kid. I want him to be really good. I mean, obviously I do. He's a Giant and I want him to be great, but I feel like he can do it. And maybe that's just because it's May Bad Dog talking now. Talk to me in October. Talk to me after he's played 5 games in the NFL. I might have a totally different take on this. But I don't know, man. I have a good feeling about Jaxson Dart. Just don't know why.
Well, my outlook on Dart is I have no idea what he's going to be in the NFL, but I do have confidence that he is set up very well to be successful. He has arguably the most talented wide receiver in the NFL right now on his roster. If he's not, he's top 5 for sure. And Malik Neighbors, he's got, you talk not just Brian Dable, Mike Kafka. I mean, he was a big part of the upbringing of Pat Mahomes. Shea Tierney was part of the upbringing of Josh Allen, along with, of course, Brian Dable. So these guys know their way around some of the better the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Dable has had a reputation for being able to get the most out of quarterbacks. Giants just haven't had very talented quarterbacks here. So we'll see if Jaxson Dart's successful, but I don't think when we find out if he is or isn't, it's going to be the same talking points that it was with Daniel Jones for years, where we felt like he wasn't set up for success. I think Jaxson Dart is set up for success. And unlike Daniel Jones, I also don't think he's going to be thrown into the fire because they went out, they signed Russell Wilson, they got Jameis Winston. I don't think they're going to force him in there before they think he's ready. And we'll see what the kid's made of when he gets an opportunity. But I am confident that he is going to be set up to be successful. It's going to be up to him to see whether or not he has success.
Yeah, well, let's hope he does. Big shout out real quick. Sean Nevins saying we becoming a member, and we appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much for becoming a member. You get all those perks that we talked about at the beginning of the show. And then I just want to put up there. He says, boom, subscribe from Fireside to Collective. Thank you.
Yeah. Huge shout out to Sean. He's in every single Fireside Giants live stream. Huge supporter of that channel. Thank you so much, Sean, for following me over here to the Collective and supporting us here as well.
Yes, we appreciate that very much.